Warp Pipe Wednesday.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Warp Pipe Wednesday. I'm RussLyman.
What's up, guys? I'm the NES addict, aka Jay.
We're going to be talking about consoles we wish we had growing up.
Yeah, I mean, all of them, right?
I wish I had them all. If money was no object back then, yeah, we would have definitely gotten them all. But probably you only got a console maybe for your birthday or like Christmas present, right? Because it's a big purchase. It was like $200-$300, right?
Yep, absolutely. Special events only.
Special events only. And then if you didn't get the console you wanted, hopefully someone on the street did, and then you could go over to their house and play it.
That was a pretty good setup, you know, if you had one and a buddy had the other. So
yeah, with me it was my neighbor had the Sega Genesis and I had Nintendo, so I'd luckily just walk over his house and then we play some X-Men and Beavis and Butthead.
There you go. So I guess the big question is, what console did you want growing up, Russ, that you didn't get?
I'd probably say TurboGrafx.
Really?
I only got to play it once at a friend's house, and I never remember seeing any like commercials or promotional stuff for it. You know, I read comics growing up, and they would always have video game ads in the comic books.
Right.
And I don't think I remember ever seeing any TurboGrafx like ads in the comic books.
All I remember about TurboGrafx was when I was like losing my mind the fall of 1992 because I could not wait to get a Super Nintendo. I remember looking in like the Christmas lookbook that probably came out in October to get you ready. And I just remember seeing the TurboGrafx 16 in there and thinking, what is this? If you have to call it TurboGrafx, it's probably not that good. You know what I mean? Like they were like hyping it up too much
because they had to add turbo and let you know it's got graphics.
Yeah. So and plus nobody I knew had one.
Right.
So I was like, this is like a throwaway console that nobody's ever going to buy. But it's actually pretty awesome.
Right. And that, like you said, no one had one. And I don't think there was ever a kiosk that you could try one at a store. I'd never seen one at a Service Merchandise or Sears. So I didn't even know where my friend got it from, like where his parents got it from, whether they ordered it through a magazine or maybe it was, did Toys R Us even stock them?
I want to say that they were considerably cheaper to the alternatives, which were your Super Nintendo, your Sega Genesis. You know, I think the TurboGrafx was thought of to be better than the NES and the Master System. But I think it was like $99. I have a wish book right over there. I should go look at it. But
like a Sears wish book.
Yeah.
Let's see what it was going for back then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was $19.99. Or sorry, $99.99.
And I did like that the controller was almost reminiscent of the NES controller, where it was a rectangle, but it just added those turbo buttons built in.
Yeah, that was kind of cool, right? Because then you didn't have to buy like a second party controller. Because I remember I bought a Turbo Touch 360 for my Nintendo, Super Nintendo, to play Final Fight with, so I could punch faster. Exactly.
Ba, 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 ba. Nice. Yeah, and then seeing Keith Courage, I thought was pretty neat. Like you're playing as this almost like wimpy-ish kid or whatever. You're going through the level, and once you get to the end, all of a sudden this rainbow comes, and you're in this mech, and the music kicks in, and I was like, this is pretty cool. Like he didn't have a lot of games for me to experience, so we played Keith Courage, and like I'm pretty sure he had some like football style game. And then of course Bonk's Adventure.
Oh, he had Bonk?
Yeah, and I was like, this is cool. Had I known that came out on Super Nintendo as well, but I didn't know we were getting that. So I was like, oh, TurboGrafx, like that's Bonk.
Wait, did it come out on Super or NES? Because I know Bonk's is on NES. It's one of the more expensive ones.
Maybe it's NES then. Maybe
I think you might be thinking of that one.
Okay, so even lesser graphics it's working with.
That's right.
But I thought that was a cool game too. You know, I was a sucker for a platformer. You know, I enjoyed Mario and Sonic, so Bonks was like Turbo's mascot. You know, Keith Courage didn't really take off, I guess, as their mascot. Bonks was more of their mascot.
Yeah, they definitely threw Keith Courage to the wolves and decided Bonk should be the winner there.
Yeah, and then working at the retro video game store, Retro Games Plus, some TurboGrafx stuff would come in, not as often as the other stuff. So then, it's more expensive system to collect for in this day and age. So it's like, all right, I don't want to get into it now because I have to buy the system, and then getting the games they're not cheap. And then if you want them with the CD case, it's a little bit more instead of just having the U card.
Right.
And then to make it another step up, it would be a U card that's in a CD case that's in a cardboard case.
Yeah, right.
Essentially to make it CIB. And I'm like, geez. So if you're lucky enough, Jay got his hands on the TurboGrafx Mini.
That's right, I did.
So you can play it that way. It's got how many games did it come with built in?
It's a great question. I don't really remember. I want to say like 30, maybe like 15 for the TurboGrafx, and then maybe 15 for the PC Engine.
PC Engine, yeah.
But yeah, I was super lucky. I got that on my birthday. I just happened to go on Amazon, and what I think happened was somebody bought it and returned it because it had a return sticker stuck on the box when I got it, and I was like, what the crap, why'd you put this on the box? So I had to meticulously peel it off, which luckily it came right off and didn't tear anything up. But I was really happy to have that because the TurboGrafx for me is totally like a just like a little niche system that I really didn't want to collect for. I just kind of wanted to have but play a couple games. But so getting that mini system really has allowed me to like play more of that library without spending way too much money. I think I paid about $119 for mine.
Yeah, and that's not terrible. And obviously you're getting games with it as well. The only way I've been experiencing it currently is my Super Nintendo Classic is modded.
Nice.
With TurboGrafx games on it. So it's a little different because I'm using I play with the Wii what the heck is it called? Wii Pro controller.
Yeah.
I guess that plugs into the Classic. So I use that because it has enough buttons for all the games. And it's a little weird having the turbo. I think you have to turn the turbo on. So I would rather have that controller, the official controller, to make it more nostalgic. So eventually I like to maybe pick one up.
Do you have a TurboGrafx 16?
No, I don't have one.
Okay, yeah. I got super lucky, and Robin at the Video Game Cavern got one in. She was like, I don't know if it works. I don't have any of the cords to test it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I'll sell it to you for I think she gave it to me for 10 or 15 bucks. And I was
wow.
like, yeah, absolutely. I'll try it. Because if nothing else, I was just going to display it,
Right.
But what I learned is the RF switch for a Nintendo or probably even a Sega Genesis would work for it. And then the Sega Genesis, is it MK13? I can't remember the number on the power adapter, but one of the Genesis power adapters works. And if I did a video on it on my YouTube channel, it's called Frankensteining a TurboGrafx 16. So
nice.
You can watch that and find out exactly what components will work with it. So I didn't even need to buy a NEC adapter, which are expensive.
Say, because when the TurboGrafx came out, it wasn't AV, right? You had to get an adapter to make it AV.
Yeah, it's not AV. Yeah, and I have an adapter. It's an aftermarket adapter that's like green from Hyperkin that works really well.
Nice, sweet.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was definitely the Sega Genesis. All those Sega ads. I remember after I got my Super Nintendo. Yeah, say it, Sega. After I got my Super Nintendo, even actually on my way to Toys R Us that Saturday when my dad was like, hey, let's go get that Nintendo. And I was like, sick. On the way there, I was like, do I want the Genesis maybe? Do I want the Super Nintendo?
Right.
Because Sonic 1 just looked so freaking awesome. And Green Hill Zone Act 1, that music alone made me really want that system, which is weird, right? Like to want a whole system based off one song of a game.
Get you
pumped. Just that just really hype me up.
The music's so different from it feels different and sounds different from Super Nintendo music because
absolutely
of the processing chip and blast processing and all that. So it's okay, I could see it.
And he was just a really great character and mascot for Sega, almost to the point where I almost made the decision to get a Genesis, but I had played Super Mario World and was completely obsessed with the idea of playing that at my house and getting through the whole game. So ultimately I chose Super NES. And in hindsight, I'm still happy with that decision. But yeah, the Genesis was just so alluring, and the the X-Men game on the Genesis looked so much cooler. And
Mhm.
that was about the time I was really obsessed with the cartoon, and I was like in love with Gambit, and Gambit looked so awesome on there.
Well, that's what we played at my neighbor's house. He had the X-Men, and again, yes, I love the cartoon and future episode collecting the X-Men cards.
Yes, definitely got to do that.
And I was like, oh, so being able to play the game on there and it looked pretty great. We never beat it or got too far, but
Yeah,
we had
we
a good
didn't
time
either.
playing it.
It is kind of difficult, right?
Yes.
But yeah, there was other games that looked really appeasing, like the Chenkin, the Forever Man had really cool graphics. I don't think it's a great game actually, but it looked cool.
Right. That drew me in with the cover of like this skeleton-y, dead-looking guy, like
Yeah,
with swords.
I was obsessed with the idea of playing Echo the Dolphin. Luckily, I later got a Game Gear and played it on there, and it's amazing. Echo on the Game Gear is a really good game. Really
Yeah,
good.
you mentioned that before when we broke down our top like Game Gear games.
Yeah, love that game. But you know, it also had Streets of Rage. There was just the Genesis just had stuff that the Super Nintendo didn't, and vice versa. But a couple of my buddies were lucky enough to get both, and I was always like, "You guys are rich. Who gets both?" You know. Too bad I wasn't friends with Tyler. You know, from my retro life as a kid. I would have thought he was like a billionaire. Like, look at all these games. You must make millions.
I will say I went over another friend's house. It was like a friend of maybe it was a friend of a friend, and I had never seen Sega Saturn before.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? Because like all we played was Sega and Sega CD.
Right.
And like they're like, oh, break out like Daytona 500 or something. You're like, whoa, it's just like the arcade or whatever.
Yeah. I also really remember wanting surprisingly when my friend got his PlayStation,
Okay.
I remember like asking my mom that Christmas, like, can I get a PlayStation? And I never got one, but I really wanted to play like Twisted Metal. Crash Bandicoot was getting pretty hyped up on TV, where he's like with a megaphone in front of Nintendo, and he's like, you know, like harassing people.
Right.
So
It's all about the commercials.
commercials clearly warped my brain, but yeah, I wanted a PlayStation really bad. Never got one, but wanted one real bad.
Funny side story. So I got a PlayStation, and something happened to where the TV we were using to play the PlayStation on wasn't matching up, and it was like I would have lines. So I don't know if it was like a PAL PlayStation or something that they sent me.
Weird.
And I had to call PlayStation, and they were like, send your console in and we'll fix it. And it took whatever, a couple weeks or something. And because I was without my console, they gave me a list of games I can pick from, and I would get a free game.
Nice.
So I ended up getting Jersey Devil.
What's
My
that?
free game. It's like a platformer game style, like a Crash, I guess, is Bandicoot, but you're a guy in purple and he's a devil. I don't know. Jersey Devil.
Cool.
Look it up.
Oh, look. Yeah, I got to look that up. Never heard of that one. That's pretty cool. Could you have gotten Twisted Metal?
I can't remember the list at all, but it was probably like a Crash Bandicoot, that maybe Twisted Metal on there. You know, it was pretty popular titles. It wasn't like sports game.
Right. Puzzle
Like,
game, sports
sweet.
game, puzzle game.
Yeah. It probably wasn't any RPGs or like Metal Gear, but
yeah,
Final Fantasy 7 or what do you want?
Yeah, I just remember playing Twisted Metal at Mark's house all the time. We loved that game. I always wanted to be Sweet Tooth.
Yeah. I'd seen someone make a like in real life Sweet Tooth vehicle.
I'm surprised it wasn't you.
I got enough cars to work on. But yeah, I'd say it almost went down to the marketing. Like you said, I didn't see much marketing for the TurboGrafx. Maybe had I seen it, I would have gotten more hyped and tried to ask for it for my birthday, or maybe my parents would have seen it. Like I never seen it at a Sears or Service Merchandise or KB or any of those stores on display. And even now to this day, people who collect kiosks, there's definitely I've never seen a TurboGrafx kiosk.
There's got to be one though.
Maybe there's only PC Engine ones in Japan.
I don't know. Did you ever hear the story about how Pat Contry got his?
No.
So it's pretty interesting, actually. He wrote like a letter. There was like a contest in a newspaper, and he like did whatever the contest required, and he sent it off in the mail, and then he kind of forgot about it. And then like this was like right around Christmas time, and then one day it just showed up on his porch, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot I like did that," and he just like won it.
It's like, there you go.
It's so random.
Freebie.
I know, right before Christmas too. Merry Christmas, Pat.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Consoles we wish we had.
That's it.
You guys could let us know in your in the comments of something we didn't mention. What other consoles came out? Maybe you could have got the Dreamcast
and 64, maybe.
And GameCube. I mean,
Wii,
the Virtual Boy.
There you go.
Who knows? You can catch full episodes every Saturday at 7 a.m. of the weekly Warp Pipe here on YouTube. You can catch us on Spotify, and check out the weekly warpipe.com where you can pick up merch like this mug. We got magnets.
Guess what, Russ? I finally bought a mug today.
Hopefully it comes in the mail for next episode.
Let's hope.
We'll see. Find me online at RussLyman. And Jay?
Find me on TikTok. You can find me on YouTube, although I'm not currently active. Go check out my old videos. Go watch the Frankenstein on TurboGrafx 16.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I'm here every Wednesday and Saturday. My buddy Russ.
That's right. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Have a great week, guys.